On Tuesday morning, late on Monday night, the Giannis Antetokounmpo saga in Milwaukee came to an end as there was an agreement for the Bucks to trade him alongside Bobby Portis to the Miami Heat for Tyler Hero, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez, Kasparis Jakučiūnas, 3 first-round picks, which most importantly include the number 13 pick in the draft on Tuesday night, a pick swap, and a second-rounder. Thank God that got that second-rounder in there, Bobby.
I think that was the only one they could trade.
They only had one tradable second.
I think they only had one tradable second. They squeezed him out of it.
Did they have more than one tradable? They had more than one tradable pick swap, right?
Yeah, they did.
Okay. Oh, so they kept that out.
There's some pocket lint still in there. Then that's good.
Yeah. So I think what's relevant, Bobby, is that the Bucks had an offer from the Celtics, including Jaylen Brown and multiple other assets. I think it was multiple other first-round picks, including the 27th pick in the draft on Tuesday. The Bucks, I think, after having a lot of conversation and thought about it, because these two, there was multiple other offers for Giannis, but these were the two that they had focused on for a period of days. Bobby, they had to choose one, and they probably had a lot of discussion to choose this one. Before we talk about what Giannis means in Miami, why do you think the Bucks ultimately chose the Miami offer?
I think it basically kind of, and I know you get Tyler Hero in it, but it basically kind of wipes the slate a little bit clean. I think if you're going to rebuild, you could probably rebuild a little bit easier this way, although Jaylen Brown's a heck of a player, but he's also owed $185, $190 million over the next 3 years, and he'd be walking into a situation where it would be him and Bobby Portis and Kyle Kuzma and some, Gary Trent Jr. and that group in the 10th pick in the draft. Here, you basically walk into a situation where you've got 2 picks in the 10 and 13 now. You've got the 3 young players you got in the trade. Hero, we'll see what happens with him if he's flipped in another deal down the road. Big trade exception. They've created 2 future firsts. Remember, they don't control their first until 2031, I believe, here. And now they got one in 31 and 33 from Miami. So I think if you're going to rebuild and retool and do it, this is probably a little bit more of a cleaner path than going out and getting a top 10 player in Jaylen Brown, just because there's not much left for him. It'd be basically Jaylen Brown on an island by himself with a bunch of rotational players.
Yeah, and listen, like Jaylen Brown in Milwaukee, that seemed like a recipe for misery, because the Bucks, with even an MVP candidate, they were going to be a mediocre team. They were mediocre when Giannis played last year, bad when he didn't. Jaylen Brown is a very good player. He's not a better player than Giannis. And, Shams reported it was Jaylen Brown and 2 first-round picks, and that was the offer, where they didn't get that top-end talent in the return from Miami, but they squeezed pretty much everything they could squeeze out of it. Jaquez Jr. is a good young player. Kel'el Ware is a very promising young player. The kid they took last year, whose last name I can't pronounce.
I just kept on saying last year's first-round pick.
There you go.
Jakučiūnas.
Yeah, there you go. That guy. He's got some promise.
He's if you don't know, he's like we picked in the teens last year. He was injured for some of his rookie year. He's a big guard. He's a prospect, big guard.
A big guard. Again, we'll see. The hope is that he becomes a good starter, that type of thing. I think Ware's got a decently high ceiling. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star or anything, but he's a talent. And then it's the picks. You get a lottery pick this year, and then the swap is when Giannis is 35. The second first-round pick is when he's 36, and the last first-round pick is when he's 38. So, there's at least, it's not like just this massive haul, because there's not like the top-end stuff, but it's a decent haul given the circumstances that you absolutely positively had to finally get a Giannis deal done. and the draft was a deadline of sorts. I don't know that this deal shifts the balance of power in the Eastern Conference, much less the NBA, because you look at that Heat roster, and I do think there's still a lot of work to be done to build a legitimate contender around Giannis and Bam.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I think that this was a hard one, because obviously if you trade for Jaylen Brown, you're trading for an All-NBA player in his prime, under contract control. That's the thing, Bob. He's under contract control, under contract for 3 more years, which is why I believe he's going to have significant value in a trade elsewhere, which we'll talk about in a second. I think if you go back and look at the star players that have been traded in the last year, so you look at Kevin Durant. He was traded, the primary piece in the package he was traded for a year ago was the number 10 pick. That's what the Suns got back. Jalen Green certainly, but the number 10 pick was, a prime piece in that.
If you look, Brooks ended up being the most impactful player.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Right away. Yeah,
you're right.
Still, it was not a home for an all.
It was a decent return, but this return is greater. If you look at the Anthony Davis trade, I believe there were 2 first-round picks in that deal.
There was there's the last pick in this year's draft, and then a maybe first.
I think it equals a 1. I think it equals 1.
Yeah, it's number 30 in the draft, and a top 20 protected. I forgot the exact year. A top 20 protected pick from the Warriors. That is,
and it was basically expiring salaries and 2 firsts in quotes.
Well, and they took D'Angelo Russell, which, shocker, he picked up his $6 million player option, despite the fact that I don't even know if he knows where the arena is in Washington. He certainly doesn't have to go there. They took Jayden Hardy, that was another Nico mistake contract. And they took Dante Exum, who's expiring salary. But it was like a salary.
Right, without relitigating the trade, I'm just saying that the Giannis package is a better package than those two players. And he's a 2-time MVP and is still in his prime years. It should have been. I'm not saying that was. I'm just comparing it. But the Jaylen Brown, option would have been, the best piece that's traded for a star player, in the recent times. And I think there's probably several reasons why the Bucks didn't go that way. I think what you guys have said, I think part of it was the realization and the reality that Milwaukee has almost no assets whatsoever. They had hollowed themselves out, and so when they're looking at what they have to do going forward, the idea of getting the maximum amount of young prospects and draft picks, in addition to guys who can have core players now, whether or not they keep Hero or not, they could trade him for other core players. I think when they were just evaluating what they had to do, they were sort of doing a self-assessment that if we trade for Jaylen Brown, I'm not sure that they could have been contenders with him.
I'm sure they couldn't have been. Do you want to be as good as possible for the next few years when that ceiling is pretty low, or do you want to give yourself maximize your chance of putting together something legitimately good long term?
Right, and I think that's the thing. I think Jaylen Brown is a better player to have than any of these other players in the 2026, 27 season, but I'm not sure where you're going in 26, 27. And Jaylen Brown would have been he would have been your signature star. He would have been up on the billboards outside your building and around town, but I'm not sure it brings your franchise to a better spot. And I think it's arguable and it's a gray area, and that's the choice that they made. And I really think the ultimate assessment on this, Bobby, is they probably should have traded Giannis a year ago.
Yeah. But you would have given a team 2 years to have him.
Right, but they didn't, and so this is what they have, and we'll see when they eventually talk about this. They can't do this trade, right, Bobby? Until
they can't do it until July 6th because Portis is involved. Portis is going into the trade exception for Duncan Robinson. Miami's taking a ton of money back, and we'll talk about their roster in a minute. But Portis part, which helps them with their depth, but this can't happen until July 6th because of the.
So we're going to see the 13th pick will be made by the Bucks, but he'll be putting on a Heat hat, which
Yeah,
is
a couple
always
hats
annoying.
tomorrow night made by some other teams here, you know?
Yeah, there was a few first-round picks traded. I want to now focus on the fallout here in Boston. Not getting this deal done. So Jaylen Brown, there was an attempt to. It was futile. It was an attempt to, I think, try to avoid Jaylen being flagrantly available. But that's the horse is out of the barn on that.